Welcome to Stock Shots. Our guest tonight is David Duval. David is an internationally recognized mining author, minerals consultant, technical advisor to the United Nations, expert on the global minerals industry, and is a leading authority on the Canadian diamond sector. He is the managing editor and co-founder of jsmindset.com. We're so pleased to have David as our guest tonight.
Our guest tonight is David Duval. David, thank you for taking time to be with us on Stock Shots.
Oh, I'm delighted to be here.
David, there has been much made about the amount of speculation that is in the price of a barrel of oil. And we've even heard some of the experts like Lehman say that they see oil back at $70 back in the not-so-distant future. Where do you see the price of oil going over the next 12 months?
Well, first of all, it's safe to say there's an element of speculation in just about any commodity, including oil. And, because of OPEC, there's not much price and supply transparency in the marketplace. So, it's really often difficult to tell what's driving prices and supply, at any given time. From my personal perspective, I wouldn't be surprised to see that, 15, 20% of the oil price is pure speculation. And some of that speculation relates to potential supply disruptions in the Middle East, places like Nigeria and even the Gulf Coast, for that matter, where the hurricane season is looming on the horizon. So, in addition to that, we've seen an influx of hedge funds, banks and other financial institutions come into the commodity markets in the past few years, and that also has impacted oil and dollar price moves. In terms of Lehman's forecast of $70 for oil, I could probably see oil prices falling back to that level in a full-fledged recession in the U.S. and perhaps in Europe, but I don't think the price would stay there that long. And, I think it's important to keep in mind that in any recession, consumers would probably benefit from lower oil prices, but the flip side, of course, is that many of them wouldn't really have jobs. So in many cases, higher oil prices constitute, the lesser of the two evils.
Right. That is a good point. One of the things that we've heard a lot about lately is how the dollar is affecting the price of oil. Is the level of the dollar really that critical to oil, or is that just a lot of hype?
Well, there's an element of hype to it, I suppose, but I think it's important to note that oil prices are, as we all know, are denominated in U.S. dollars, like most other commodities, including gold. Both oil and gold generally trade inversely with the U.S. dollar, although oil's correlation, I think, perhaps is somewhat less so, but that correlation is definitely there, and a depreciated dollar reduces the purchasing power of oil-producing nations, such as Saudi Arabia and what have you, and namely because they're being paid for their oil in U.S. dollars that are increasingly worth less. And so, as a result, these producing nations tend to compensate for the loss in purchasing power by raising prices. And, it's a vicious circle that will probably only end with a much higher U.S. dollar, and that's something I don't see really happening anytime soon.
Yeah, that is one of the things that we've seen the dollar try to firm up a little bit, but it just doesn't seem to be able to gain a lot of strength.
Well, it's having a hard time gaining a lot of traction, but, the trend is definitely up, and where it'll stop, I don't really have a great feel for it at the moment, but I don't think it's going much higher than where it is today. It might go up a little bit, maybe 3 to 5%, but I don't see it going much higher than that.
One of the things that I've been talking about a little bit on the show is the price that people are paying in other countries for a gallon of gasoline. They've long been paying more per gallon than we have. Do you see that gap narrowing permanently?
In terms of industrialized nations, as I understand it, the U.S. and Canada have the lowest oil prices, and part of that relates to the tax component in the oil price, which is much lower in these countries than anywhere else. And I don't honestly see the gap narrowing because oil prices are set in the global marketplace, and everybody basically pays the same price. In a free market system, suppliers can price their commodities at whatever the market will bear, and even at current prices, oil consumption in the U.S. has remained fairly steady. Obviously higher prices will have some impact on the discretionary use of fuel, especially in automobiles, but the bottom line is that most Americans need cars to get to work, and it's costing them a lot more than ever to get there.
Yeah, sadly enough, I have about a 45-mile commute to work every day, and I have no choice, so I just have to adjust the budget in other areas as gas continues to rise. We've gotten several questions from viewers that want to know how they can make money in alternative energy as the price of oil continues to rise. What ways do you suggest that our viewers invest in alternative energy?
Well, as far as energy alternatives, I wouldn't honestly sway too far from traditional sources of energy, including coal and nuclear. And I'd be the first to admit I'm somewhat conservative in this area. And it's important to note the U.S. has huge coal reserves, along with uranium resources in places like New Mexico, which are bound to become more valuable as the world's, very finite resources of petroleum and mineral commodities become depleted. Solar and wind energy, I think, have been around for a long time, and I don't see these technologies playing a significant role in solving our energy problems.
Do you think that the falling dollar will cause a drastic increase in the price that we pay for electricity, since most of our electricity is generated by coal-fired plants?
Well, historically, coal is ranked among the cheapest forms of energy just about everywhere, but the price of coal, like oil, is set on international markets, which is certain to have an impact on U.S. consumers of coal in any form, including electricity. And I don't think most Americans realize, but 50% of their electrical energy needs is met by coal, but coal is a bulk commodity whose economics are impacted greatly by transportation charges. They have to get it to the coast and onward from there, depending on what market they're serving. So it tends to be much more competitive as an internal energy source in comparison to oil, natural gas, or most other forms of energy. So yes, the price will probably go up, but I think it'll still be the most economic form of producing energy in the U.S. for some time to come.
For the rest of this video, please visit our website at www.stockshots.tv. That's www.stockshots.tv. Thank you for listening.